Hey everyone, happy Saturday. It's Josh coming to you with a little video message. Why? Because I am getting the nudge from above to bring this message. So bear with me here because I'm going to talk about some things that folks I think are aware of, but they kind of haven't put the pieces together. So I'm hoping to bring a little peace and comfort to folks with having them wrap their heads around something that we're all born with. So this is 2022. I was born in 1979. Anyone that was born, pretty much, in this world, exposed to modern culture, knows this name, Jesus. Anyone born to modern culture knows this name, Cinderella. And pretty much everybody's familiar with Santa. And most everybody watching this has gone to school and been graded on their performance and all of that. Well, I want to talk to folks about something that I think might help make your life a little bit easier. We're all born into this world, and humans are very programmable creatures. We start to ingest messages and stories and propaganda about the age of 2, and we are all a product of the stories that we're taught to believe. For instance, nobody's born into this world wanting to fly a Confederate flag. Nobody's born into this world wanting to fly an American flag. Nobody's born in this world believing in God or Jesus or Santa or Cinderella. These are stories that we are exposed to along the way that we pick up and we choose to believe. Believe what you want. That doesn't matter to me as long as what you believe and what you're bringing to folks in that belief is not compromising the peace, health, well-being, or dignity of this world or the creatures in it, including our fellow humans. Now, something that I have seen, and with the help of Spirit being shown to me, is this willingness, and not only willingness, but eagerness to hold on to our bullshit, hold on to our pains and our traumas. There's something wrong with our culture. A lot of things wrong with our culture. One of these things is certainly this. In literature, in English, and stories and mythology, you'll come across something called a hero's journey. The hero's journey is basically the idea of a protagonist, a hero, fighting an antagonist and this challenge or this monster, and they get over it, they get through it, and then they find their happily ever after. We see this a lot. We see this in stories like Beowulf. We see this in stories, essentially any fairy tale or any modern story, movie, what have you, whether it's horror, sci-fi, or even romance, rom-com. There's always sort of the hero and the challenge that we get over, right? Or the hero gets over. Now we see this in a lot of different ways. For instance, the story of Jesus, right? Jesus struggled. Jesus was crucified. Jesus did these things for us. And eventually Jesus found salvation, right? The resurrection, what have you. And we're taught, bear your burdens and you'll be rewarded with heaven or what have you, salvation. We see that in the story of Cinderella. Cinderella is very much the story of, the downtrodden underdog, the stepdaughter, and she works really hard, and eventually things line up just right, and she gets her happily ever after, her fairy godmother, her Prince Charming. We see this in scenarios where we are graded in grade school, right? The more homework, the more work we do, the better marks we get, the better awards or diplomas we get. We also see this with Santa. I mean, look at what we're taught at the very beginning of our life. For those folks who were raised with Santa, you be good and you'll be rewarded at Christmas time, He's making a list and he's checking it twice. These things are woven into our culture. Now, watch how these things might be inadvertently and unintentionally presenting themselves in your life. I see a lot of folks hold on to their burdens like a badge of honor, like a testament to their strength. We kind of do this with grief too. We don't grieve well as a culture. A lot of folks hold on to grief like a badge of honor. Like, if I hold on to this pain, I'm showing that person in spirit how much I love them. Or we get it kind of mixed up and, we think holding on to the pain is going to be holding on to their memory. We can hold on to their memory without holding on to their pain. We don't have to carry pain and burdens like a badge of honor to prove ourselves, to our loved ones in spirit, to our loved ones around us. Anybody who loves you in life or in death does not want you to struggle. They do not want you to be a Jesus. They do not want you to be a Cinderella. They do not want to hold you accountable to the standards of Santa. Now, I'm sure your loved ones will want you to be strong and to find the strength to make it through your burdens, right? That's what I want for my loved ones. Find the strength, and I'll help you to make it through your burdens. But I would never want anybody to hold on to their burdens or their bullshit as a testament to their strength. We kind of all do this. It's the idea of Cinderella. Cinderella scrubs the floor. If you are promised a happily ever after by culture, by Santa, by Jesus, by Cinderella, and you don't get it just because that's the nature of reality, sometimes these things are not handed to us, we might, a lot of us, hold on to the idea that, well, if I hold on to this and I just keep pushing through, then I'll cross that threshold of approval or validation or acceptance. And then once I meet some sort of hidden standard, I'll get that happily ever after. And I don't think that's exactly how it works. We can be rewarded by moving through struggles and burdens, but we don't hold on to them intentionally. So to get through this, right, to see if you might be doing this, I will encourage you to do something here. A little thought exercise to kind of walk you away from this inadvertent Cinderella that you might be doing. Do this for me. Go ahead and take the biggest problem that you have in your life and put it in your mind. This could be a problem in the outside world or a problem on the inside. And a lot of people know that I do this with them because this is important. Imagine if you had a child that was just like you, strong and courageous and dependable and loyal and creative and loving and compassionate and all these things that you are. And this child had this problem. What would you tell that child to do with it? Would you tell your child to hold on to it, to prove themselves, how strong they are? Or would you give that child the encouragement to set it down, heal from it, move away from it? This is incredibly important in our lives because on a subconscious level, under these subtle layers of stories that we're built into, we can absolutely inadvertently hold on to our bullshit as a way of like, I'm Odysseus or a great hero, and I have to get through this struggle. I have to hold on to this struggle to get to that salvation, to get to that happily ever after, to get that present that Santa promised me. I don't really think that's how it is, because if any other member of the human race was holding on to your problem, I have a pretty good idea of what you would tell them to do with it. And I have a pretty good idea that you're not doing that thing. Now, there's a lot of people who live in fear and worry and shame, but they also live with this inadvertent idea that their life is a fairy tale and they've got to struggle and hold on to those burdens and martyr themselves to get to that happily ever after. I'm speaking also to a lot of those people that will stay in really shitty relationships because they think, they're going to hold on to that burden, hold on to that burden, hold on to that burden. And then eventually, if they struggle and wait and fix and heal and do all those things for that person, then the happily ever after will come. That's not to say that you shouldn't stand beside a partner as they work through their own personal development. But it is to say that you shouldn't be abused, hoping and waiting that that person changes and that your happily ever after gets to you. Be mindful that you are not your own Cinderella. Be mindful that you're not your own Jesus, bearing the weight of a cross because you're hoping that some higher power will lend you salvation. There is a higher power. I think of it as love. You have it on the inside of you. And if you just did with your biggest problem what you would have somebody else do, you'll find the peace that you deserve. Take care. Much love to you.